Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the first starting 11 of the season. Stoke City at home. Baz has named his side, and here it is. This is the side Baz wants to start. In goal, number one, for the next 25 years, Jordan Pickford in there. Never ever coming out, Baz. Never ever.
Let's just move on. It's dead easy. He's the
Every
number
week,
one.
every week that's that
No,
name.
fingers crossed, yeah. Pickford in goal. Yeah,
Every single week. Right back. A debatable position. One that will divide fans. There's so many out there that want to see Martina in that spot.
There is.
So many.
There is.
So many in there. But you've gone for, and I concur, John Joe Kenny at right back.
Yeah.
Why?
John Joe. Basically for his attacking ability, because I feel as though Stoke will come quite reserved.
Yeah.
And just see if we can get something on the break. And I feel as though they're going to sit deep, so we're going to need our width. And I just feel as though, as good a defender as Mason Holgate is, in the final third he ain't great. And that's an area where we might have to rely on our fullbacks this weekend. So John Joe Kenny is a good attack. He's as close to Seamus as what we've got.
I agree, because I think when you look at the rest of the team and you look at what's in there and you look at the experience and how well other players have settled in to the teams, how quickly the likes of Pickford teams have settled in, the likes of Michael Keane has settled in, that I think there's enough experience in there to cover his back. Even midfield, there's players in there you look at and you think, well, yeah, you know, you're part of the squad, and I think that's what allows someone like him to come into the team.
And they've lost, I suppose, the player who would have played directly up against him, who was quite experienced in Arnautovic. He's gone out to West Ham, so there's not that. I know Shaqiri can operate on that side as well, but you know, it would be it's a gamble, of course it is, because John Joe's not played.
But wasn't Holgate a gamble last season?
Yeah, and we had to throw him in, but last year was necessity, wasn't it? Whereas this year, he might look and go, there's Martina who's experienced in the Premier League, there's obviously Holgate who's got that experience, but I would go with John Joe Kenny.
Sound.
Finish your drink.
Moving to centre back, Michael Keane comes in.
No question.
Absolute has looked great so far.
Yeah.
He's a Premiership player, has been for a while. Looks good on the ball, great in the air, which will be, well, it might be vital against Stoke.
Yeah, I think.
So he goes straight in there. Now the other side is a bone of contention, because again we're still looking to fill that position, and it comes down to two of the senior professionals in the squad, Ashley Williams or Phil Jagielka. Now you've gone for Phil Jagielka. Now please explain why you've gone to Phil Jagielka.
I just think so far in the friendlies and the 2 Europa League games, what I've seen, I think Jags looks the sharper of the two. For me, I thought he was good against Sevilla last week. I thought he'd done Sevilla last week, and I thought he'd done well against Rouge and Berroch away in the albeit playing in a 3. But I thought he'd done really well. Yeah. I just think Ashley Williams looks a little bit sluggish at the moment, and he might need.
No, Baz. He doesn't look sluggish. What does he look? Unfit. And that's being kind. I could have chosen other words. He looks unfit.
Ashley Williams looks a bit sluggish to me at the minute, and therefore, and I don't think it'll do him any harm to go, hang on a sec, I'm not in the starting 11. Like, I need to get my head together. Whereas I feel as though Jags, I'd just rather go with Jags for this one at the weekend. Jags has come back quite.
He looks slightly reinvigorated, doesn't he?
He does. I think the break done him good, and I think also the realisation that Koeman was taking no prisoners with him. He was out the side. Do you know what I mean? It was quite evidently we were looking
out the door.
He was basically going out the door, wasn't he? You know, and it was his choice whether or not he stayed, and he ended up staying and fighting displacement. When he got back in for those last few months, he was brilliant. I thought he was really good. Brilliant might be pushing, but he had some really good games. And that's why I've gone for him over Williams in this one. I think Williams has been a good sign for Everton, but just on this, at where we are right now, I would go with Phil Jackson.
For me, I think that's right as well, because I think Jags is a better player than Ashley Williams. I think he's always been a better player than Ashley Williams. I think he's a better footballer than Ashley Williams. Alright, some of his passing's not amazing, but I don't think you give the ball to Jags, he's more likely to choose the right option than make a mistake with Jagielka more times than not. And I think with someone like Keane next to him, might get a little bit more out of him. Listen, I think you get more out of both players. Not kicking Ashley Williams or not. I think you'll get more out of both players with him, because they'll have a man next to him now that will be there all season. As long as he doesn't get any kind of injury. I think he'll more suspension.
More out of Van Dijk as well, and Koulibaly, and all of these young whippersnappers.
Of course.
Now, obviously, Leighton Baines, left back.
Of course.
There's no debate. Is there? Still a very good footballer, albeit not as quick anymore. But if we get other players in who can bring the best out of him, he's still got a lot to offer.
Yeah,
with that left foot.
Moving into midfield again, this is a really interesting area of the pitch where some people might think it's absolutely nailed on and there's no issues. We feel slightly different here at Toffee TV. Morgan Schneiderlin, who you could argue hasn't had a good pre-season either, has looked slightly sluggish.
Yeah.
But he might be one of those players that is so much of a Rolls Royce that he needs, a little bit of time to just to get the engine running a little bit, and to pair and get going a little bit. And I think once Saturday comes, he'll be bang on it, and it'll all be as you need it. So he's in there now. Next to him, it would be very easy to pick a certain player that we both like, but I think in the last couple of weeks we've had a slight not change of heart, just a change of mentality, and I think this has got a lot to do with the other players in the side. I don't think Garner's done too much wrong. Well, he's been crap in pre-season, but I don't think he's done in the way he plays, hasn't done too much wrong, but the makeup of the side has changed a lot. And I think no, you agree with me, is I think we need a little bit more dynamism in midfield, and that's where Tom Davies comes in. He's a player who can pick the ball up and run with it and pick up fouls. Okay, at times he can be a little bit silly. He can run with the ball in the wrong places and get picked off, and that needs to be worked on, I think, in his game. But just the fact that he wants to do that and can do it is massive, I think, in the modern game, and I think that's what gives them the edge over Garner for me.
It's the attacking sense of game for me. I think he'll work hard. He'll work as hard as Garner. He won't intercept as much as Garner, because that is his game, and he is brilliant. And again, this isn't me going right of taking Garner off now for the season, because far from it.
No,
because I'll have him back in for the trip to Manchester City without even a blink of an eye. But I think what we might well do this season with this squad now is horses for courses. Listen, Ronald Koeman.
That's why you have a squad.
Exactly. Ronald Koeman will probably play Garner, but I personally will probably start with Tom Davies in this one to give us that edge going forward. I'm not convinced we need two holding midfielders at home to Stoke in a game that is probably, and you never want to say this, but it's on paper slightly easier, shall we say, than the other that are coming up. So that is why I'm looking at Tom Davies, because I think he'll drive us. We saw last week against Sevilla the first 30 seconds, the pass to Sandro, it was just first time he was in. He's always thinking about the forward pass, where Garner is very much a workhorse, side to side, win the ball, give it to someone else. And I just think we'll get more out of Davy Klassen, who I've also put in midfield for Stoke, because he'll have a runner that will run past him as well, enabling him to link everything together. Yeah,
of course there's a place for Garner in many games in this season. I just think that there's times where you've got to unleash the team, and
that could change again if we get a big target man.
Yeah,
we can play with almost 4 attackers then, and we can have Garner and Schneiderlin sitting, and they can just do the dirty work. But I was thinking this one, I think Tom Davies suits the game better.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree. As you just mentioned, Klassen comes in for his Premier League debut.
Yeah.
For me, I thought he looked quite good in pre-season. Just needs to get sharper. Needs to get to know the players around them. He loves a little 1-2, loves a little wall pass, loves to give and go, and I think that those relationships take time to settle in. But like you've just said, if he's got Schneiderlin and Garner, he's too far ahead of them.
Yeah.
If he's got Davies, then maybe he's got that link in between them, someone who wants to play those give and goes, so he's not always on the run, he can give it to someone else on the run. I think that's massively important.
We want him arriving in the box, because that's essentially he's been brought to get us some goals from midfield as well. So for him to be able to go and take that position up in the box, we've got to have someone 10 yards behind him who's got the ball. So it all links together. So that's why Davy Klassen, and we've bought him not to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
So
oh no, we won't sit on it.
Exactly. So he's got to play. So he's in there.
So that's the makeup of the midfield. Now we move to the 3 attacking positions. Now you've gone with Sandro on the right.
I've put
interchangeable.
I've put him on the right, but it is very much interchangeable.
And that's what we want again. We want 3 attacking players who can be interchangeable and can give the defenders marking them a bit of a nightmare.
The way I'm looking at it is, I kind of thought about last season, the first game against Spurs, and we didn't have Romelu Lukaku then.
Yeah.
And we went with Deulofeu, Morales and Ross Barkley, actually, who played as a false 9, if you like. And we were brilliant for 70 minutes, then obviously we ran out of legs. But then 3, because they were a fluid 3, caused Spurs, who I regard as, they were probably the best team in the Premier League last season, just couldn't carry it over, or certainly comparable to Chelsea. And that was, for me, one of our best performances of the season. It was just the last 20 we had to dig in. We were on our backs, weren't we, or on our knees. We were knackered. Thanks, Mr. Martinez. And I thought the front 3 were excellent that day, and if Deulofeu kills that game off, we might even win it. We misses a chance at 1-0. And that's why these 3 that I've gone for this time, again, we want that big, strong target man, and we haven't got him.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have him for Saturday, so we have to think of different ways. I think these 3 enable us to move it around, and still gives us a couple of options on the bench if we want to totally change it up.
So Sandro's coming in to make his debut, and obviously we've seen the good sides of him, we've seen the I'm not saying the bad sides of him, just we've seen the more erratic sides of him, because I think he is quite erratic as a centre forward or attacker, till he sort of settles in and gets to know those players. And that's the big thing about this game, isn't it? It's all about getting those players ready for Premier League action and getting them used to it straight away. So he'll come in, I think he'll get chances, he'll make chances. It's just whether he has the composure to put them in the back of the net, and I think that comes down to him. Whether he's just going to swing at someone and smash it, or he's going to be confident in his own ability to think, I'll hit this as how I like it. Will I get another chance? I think that's half the battle with some centre forward. They come in the Premier League with big reputations, and they snatch it every chance they get, because it's almost that mindset.
You're trying to prove yourself.
Yeah, you're
trying to prove it to yourself.
Trying to prove it to yourself, the fans, and also I think a lot of them worry, will I get another chance in this game? Whereas you find that's the difference with the top strikers. They just do their own thing. It's natural. They don't snatch.
But he's only young. He's a kid, and he's coming into a new country and a new team, and he took his goal really well last week, and it showed that composure that we're on about, didn't he? And if you looked at his goals from Malaga, some of them are fantastic hits, others were in the box, and he just steers it in. So, like I say, the way the team's set up there, I've put Rooney down the middle as the link man. I don't really expect him to play. I think he'll drop off into wide areas, and he proved last week when he dropped off into wide areas he was actually better. But it gives us that option. I think maybe Sandro for his movements, along up front, for them to link up. I think Rooney will be a key player in this game for us, hovering around. And I think the other thing with Tom Davies, although Garner's got the same, is that legs in midfield as well, that extra to get out, get over and cover. So yeah, Rooney, Sandro.
And the other position is
Wildcard.
Is Lookman, who came on last week against Sevilla, and I thought he was excellent. I thought he showed something different to everyone else, and I just think it's funny, isn't it? Because you don't have to have a brilliant pre-season, but if you do something in the last game, that's what everyone thinks, because everyone else has had that chance to sort of prove themselves, and he came in, and I just thought he was excellent. It was a brilliant little cameo.
I thought he's done well in all the games. Was it Twente? He was absolutely brilliant against Twente. He was okay over in Tanzania, and he's built in.
But I suppose it's because we've had a couple of competitive games where he hasn't really had.
No, he come on, didn't he, late against Rosenberg at home, didn't really get into it, but thought against good opposition at the weekend. What he does is, and we haven't got this with Ross Barkley not being in the side, someone who's prepared to carry the ball. Everything, what we've seen so far from our new additions is it's all nice and bright, it's flicks, it's 1-2s, it's drop. He's someone who picks the ball up and runs with it, And I think against Stoke we might need that. We might need someone who's a little bit cleverer. And it's all very well. People might say, no, I'd rather leave him till the last 20.
Yeah.
But that game could pan out differently, and the last 20 is irrelevant because they're 2-0 up, and it's where I think it's the opening day. They're not going to be sharp.
Yeah.
We're not going to be sharp, but the crowd and everything else will hopefully carry us through. Let's get ahead against them. Let's take the game to them early on. They don't really know about Lookman. Yeah. They really don't know about Davy Class. Mark Hughes himself said, I don't know anything about Sandro, and I hope at 5 o'clock on Saturday I still don't know anything about him. We can catch these by surprise at the weekend, and that to me is what we're looking for.
And let's have a little bit of excitement as well. Do you know what I mean? Let's excite the crowd. It could be a frustrating game. Let's have that little bit of X factor. It's got something a little bit different about it.
But I want him playing high up.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's the same with like John Joe Kenny. You've got enough experience around. Okay, you've got new players, but you've got enough experience around to maybe have that X factor. But then other people say, well, no, because we've got Sandro and we've got Klassen, and they. So yeah, I mean that's fair enough. That's
only an opinion, isn't it?
That's horses for courses. So
And then of course, just sorry, before we go off the bench, you're then talking Dominic Calvert-Lewin. If it's needing a target man, he can do that. You've got Kevin Morales also on the bench, so the options are there.
Yeah, so that's our style, and that's what we feel like. Let us know whether you agree with that. Thank you for watching Toffee TV. We will see you later.